So, are you curious?
Welcome to the Curiosity Codex. I am your ardent enthusiast, Kyle Olson. We're continuing our conversation with actor, director, and voiceover artist Mandy Fabian. We've heard her humble origins as a girl growing up in Texas, but now she'll tell us tales of the Big Apple, her first auditions, booking a commercial, hobnobbing with rock stars, and her first appearance in a big movie. But first, we pick up where we left off. Fresh out of school and ready to become a star, Mandy headed directly to Boston?
Chapter 2. The Dharma of Dominoes.
All right, so let's pick up where we left off. And I believe we left off in Boston. Post-collegiate, you had moved to Boston, got a job at Cheers.
Yep, I sure did. Yep.
And then, so what was going on in the career?
Well, aside from, serving fries to potential TV fans and producers, I was, like I said, I was planning on I was going to go to London. I made plans with a friend of mine from improv. We were going to go over and just do improv like crazy kids and see how the Brits liked our comedy stylings. And then
For like extended vacation or like to move there?
Well, no, you can't really move there and work there.
Oh, okay.
The United States is the only place where you can do that. Thanks, but no thanks, U.S.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. No, you can't just go work in London. But I did not ever end up going because, weirdly enough, that pilot that I did, I got a call from I don't even know how they found me, to be honest. But the lady who did that pilot was casting an all-female sketch show. I think it was called like She TV or something like that, in New York, and wanted me to come and like audition for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Work begets work.
That's kind of what I thought. So I'm like, oh, darn, can't go to London. Instead, I go, I'm going to go audition for this TV show in New York. And I go and I do the audition. And
so walk me through the audition. So
okay.
You go, like, obviously you travel down, you drive down?
Did I drive? I think I drove. I don't know. It's Boston and New York. I think I probably took the train. I think I had a boyfriend at the time who lived in D.C. and he was like, I'll meet you in New York. And so I think he came with me for the first part. But so I stayed at the, I didn't know what to do. I took the train to New York City and I stayed at the Milford Plaza, the lullaby of Broadway.
Okay.
It was like the only hotel that somebody told me about. So I stayed there for a night or two.
Yeah.
I did the audition. And then I think I went back to Boston. Oh, okay. So the audition was basically like I had to do 3 different characters.
So did it actually like they said be here at this time, or was it like we're doing it from this span, show up during this span?
No, it's like you have an appointment at 10:30 on a Wednesday.
Okay.
You would think that I would remember these details, but I guess
whatever you remember. I'm just curious because I've never done any professional auditions. Like, so I'm curious like what the actual process is like.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you have an audition 11 o'clock on Monday. Here's the address. Show up with your headshot and, which I don't even think I had at the time. And, get there and you need to have prepared, I think, probably like accents and characters and things. For sketch shows, you always had to do like, 3 minutes of characters and, impressions if you have them and all that stuff. And you had to write it and perform it and do all that.
So what did you have in your audition bag at that point?
I think the big one I had was that bowhead sorority girl character that I did.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what else I did. I probably did some country singing thing because I was from Texas, so I always had a good, solid, country whack-a-mole character. And then, to be honest, maybe a British accent. I probably just did as many accents as I could do because I could do them. I'd been doing them since I was a kid. So, yeah, it went well. And I think what happened is the casting director was like, you need to stay in town for a few more days.
Oh.
Yeah. And so that was kind of my reaction. Oh, I remember what I did. I remember what I did now. I found a friend of mine from college because I'd gone to college in New York, and I don't even, how did I find these people? I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't, like, there wasn't the internet. Like, I don't even know how I found these people. I must have had somebody in a phone. I must have had no, nobody had cell phones.
No.
Wow. I don't know how I found these people. I must have had my housemate's number memorized or something. I think I stayed with him one night in New Jersey. Anyway, I found friends, and through the grapevine, I found places to stay while I went and I met with, they set up meetings for me with like a manager and an agent. And so it was the craziest thing. I came to town for an audition, and I ended up getting a manager and an agent and a commercial agent. And then they were like, okay, so move to New York now, or you're going to be an actor. I was like,
okay. Wow.
Yeah, it was a pretty magnificent, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say that has to be a legendary audition. Like, that's not the way most auditions go.
No, but you know what's funny? I didn't get the job.
Well, I say, and I've never heard of She TV, so I think you might be okay.
Maybe I dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, clearly they didn't cast the right people.
Well, that
could have been a hit.
Clearly, that's the problem.
Yeah. So I was, I was like 21. I was 21. So, I think that was part of it too. The fact that I was 21 and funny.
Yeah.
And I had stage experience.
I was saying, you actually had a
chops.
lot of experience, much more than somebody coming out of, actor studio or whatever. You'd had a lot more stage time.
Yes, I had a ton of stage time, not so much time in front of the camera.
Right.
Which is a different skill I learned.
Yeah.
But so I moved to New York, and like.
So how do you just move to New York?
Right. I decided that now that I had all these people who I was going to be working with, they're like, you need to move to New York. So my manager, my new manager, let me sleep on his couch for a month.
Okay.
Which sounds creepy, but it wasn't creepy at all. We were just like buds for a month, and he took me around to all the little theaters in New York and took me to shows of his clients and showed me stand-up clubs where I could do stand-up if I wanted. I did not, but where I could if I wanted. And then I stayed with him for New York, and then it just turned out that one of my housemates from college was also planning to move to New York to pursue dance.
Okay.
And so she and I had nothing. I had no furniture. I had nothing.
Right.
But she did. So she came to New York. We found a little studio apartment.
Do you remember where? Like approximately where?
Of course I do. It was 250 East 39th Street. It was 39th and 2nd Avenue. That was my first place. Yeah. And
so that's south. I mean, that's
Midtown.
Lower. Oh, Midtown. Okay.
Right in the middle. Like, so 42nd Street's really like the main central part by Grand Central Station.
Okay.
Which, fun fact, Grand Central Station is actually a Grand Central terminal, because the actual trains that come in there don't go through there. They depart from Grand Central and they arrive at Grand Central. How about that?
Yeah.
Anyway.
You still have a lot of knowledge from your time living in New York.
I did. Yeah. You learn a lot of stuff when you're waiting for jobs and trying to be an actor.
Yeah, exactly. Being a working actor, having no money. You gotta learn your subway routes.
Yep. I did buy rollerblades to try to save money on subway fare. Okay. And after I nearly died when a van brushed my arm, I decided that maybe it was worth the money to ride the subway.
Yeah.
I got a job waiting tables at the Hard Rock Cafe.
Oh, very nice.
Wow. I tried Planet Hollywood first because
because you might run into Arnold and he might want to put you in his next movie.
Right. I wanted to be in entertainment, so that was the natural choice.
Serving chicken fingers right next to a famous prop from Rambo.
Yeah. And they showed trailers while people were eating, they could watch trailers and little clips of movies and things. It seemed like Home Sweet Home, but they weren't going to give me a high enough paying job. So I went to the Hard Rock Cafe.
Prestige. I you're getting paid in prestige working at Planet Hollywood.
Exactly. Lots of very fancy red carpet events, backdoor invitations to cater almost any important party in town.
Anyone who's anyone of the hoi polloi
would cater with the Planet Hollywood.
You want that, what was it, Captain Crunch crusted chicken. I remember that was one of their big signature dishes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, I worked at the Hard Rock, so they were the enemy, so I didn't really eat much there. But
okay.
Did
you see any, rock stars at the Hard Rock Cafe?
Yes.
Oh.
I actually, it's embarrassing because I didn't even know who they were, but the Smiths.
Okay.
And I think Squeeze, I want to say Squeeze played there one time. And I can't remember some of the bigger ones, but the Smiths was I didn't know who they were, but it was a big deal. So apparently, if memory serves me correctly, I had drinks with Morrissey.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now not something to brag about, but back then.
What was he doing in the Hard Rock Cafe anyway? He's a giant vegetarian. I don't know. Yeah. But so it was, I was like, hey, I'm on my way. I'm waiting. But that was the thing. I got a job waiting tables and I went and got headshots and we're like, okay, here we go. And I'm like, this is great. I'm going to star in a TV show. And I got the job waiting tables after I found out that I didn't get the TV show.
Right.
So that was a weird.
We don't have to get into specific dollar amounts, but is a working waitress's wage enough to pay for half of rent in New York, even back then?
What an excellent question, sir. And
thank you.
Yes, it is. Because we were sharing a studio apartment and sharing a bed.
Sure.
There was no bedroom.
Yeah.
Luckily, we were close and got along very well.
Yeah.
And neither of us were dating.
Okay. Yeah, true. No, you have to worry about the socks hanging on the door knob, huh?
Yep. Nothing like that. So it was $900 a month.
Okay.
And I worked 3 to 4 shifts at the Hard Rock Cafe and probably pulled in about $450, which would have been my rent.
Okay, yeah.
That's how the math works.
You weren't thriving. You weren't, also going to see tons of Broadway shows. But
no.
You were surviving. So what did you find out about agents and managers then? Now you had both of them. So what do they do for a brand new actress, fresh off the boat? Mm-hmm. Or, or fresh off the bus.
They set up meetings. So there's different. They set up general meetings with casting directors and people.
And what's that like? Is that just chatting?
Yeah.
Okay. So
it's
just
chatting.
Hey, how are you? What do you want to do?
Yep. What have you been up to? Where are you from?
At first, you're not creepy.
I guess. Yeah. Well, and also I think it really helps to get a sense of somebody's essence. That really is how you want to cast something. It's weird because actors, they can do a lot of different things. But if you're, this is what I know now. Of course, I didn't know it then.
Sure.
But, if they can get a sense of who you are, and that works for the character, then they know that if you're tired, if, there's no time to direct you into more than one take, if anything happens, they have this fallback of all right, at least if she opens her mouth and talks, she's going to seem like this character. In a weird way, in case the actor doesn't have that, I don't know, extra level transcendental, becoming a character.
Sure.
If what they are is close enough to the character, it's I don't know, makes everybody more comfortable, I guess. Okay.
So do you have to sort of, as an actor, mentally prepare for those things? Or are you just going to go in and be let's just sit down, let's have a chat, and let's figure out what's going on? Or are you actually I am on stage, I am performing a role as a decent human being?
Well, yeah. So if it was an audition, you would prepare.
Sure. That's what I'm saying. The difference between the two.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So,
do you feel like you're performing when you're in those kind of meetings?
Unfortunately, I did.
Okay.
But I don't think that you actually have to. I was such from the world of sketch comedy and improv, you know.
You're yes-anding them.
Yeah. So I was just I think I was very goofy. And who knows, but I made friends with the casting directors. They did bring me in for stuff, It was a very funny thing, which I learned about Hollywood very quickly, which was oh, I'm 21, but you want me to play someone who's 35.
Oh, okay.
It was very interesting. A lot of the TV stuff, I would get auditions for things that were 10 to 15 years older than me, which I guess that was a Hollywood thing at the time. You know, I was like, are they really going to cast a 21-year-old? Or do I look 35? I don't know.
Right. So do you have a worst audition story from that period?
Oh, God. Well, yes. Unfortunately, I also thought, because I had done stage and singing, I thought that maybe I wanted to try out for some Broadway. You know,
well, of course.
I mean, why not? Yeah, right? And so, but because I was also a comedian and not a very good singer, there was no chance of me just standing there and wowing them with my voice. So I was always trying to come up with these clever things to do. So there is a musical called Company.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. I know.
You know that song, part of me is everybody there, because if everybody's there, I'd like to thank you all for coming to the wedding.
Thank you all for the gifts and the flowers.
Yes. So that's a hard enough song to sing if you just stood there and sang it. But I was going to be clever, and I had a whole bit worked out where I was trying to like take off a dress because I was trying to get out of a wedding dress, and I think I had clothes on underneath. But I know that what happened was, I think I blacked it out a little bit, but I think I tried to get through it 2 or 3 times before I fell flat on my face. Like, I literally was trying to pull my leg out of the skirt and fell. And they were like, you know what? Why don't you can you just sing the song and not
do physical comedy at the same time?
Oh, God. And by that time, it was like, I should go. I should just go. And
do you remember any of the shows that you actually auditioned for?
Oh, God. I auditioned for the show of my dreams, and I actually got the part, and then they canceled it. It was like a musical about stand-ups.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of perfect.
Yeah.
Because I'd have somebody writing all my stand-up material, and then it was more like country, you know? It was like all stuff that I could really sing, not Broadway stuff, but it never went.
Maybe you should circle back around on them.
Yeah, right. Look into it. You know what? I don't remember. I auditioned for Everybody Loves Raymond. I know that.
Oh, wow. Okay. Phil Rosenthal.
Yeah. And I auditioned for a show called Townies, which is a weird thing because my husband ended up booking a part on that show.
Oh, that's cool.
So if I had booked...
I vaguely remember that show.
I think it's Jenna Elfman booked the part that I was auditioning for. And if I had booked it, I would have met him so much sooner.
You could have been Dharma.
I could have been Dharma. That's going to be the title of my autobiography, folks. I could have been Dharma, but I wasn't. Boy, he has a lot of really good I could have been stories.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I don't... It's terrible talking about, because I don't really remember... a lot of the shows that I think I auditioned for Stomp at one point.
Okay.
And the Blue Man Group. I was really trying everything.
Well, yeah, at that point. So that the life was working obviously at Hard Rock, and then audition work. I mean, this is the story of every young actor, and so did you start to recognize people like as you go to all auditions? Like, oh, there she is again. Like, because I mean, you had to be up for the same parts as 100 other women at the same time. Yes.
That's how I met Missy Pyle, and we became friends.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Because she and I were always auditioning for similar things, and she's so nice. Oh my God. We're both from Texas, so.
She was in Galaxy Quest, so she's royalty to me.
Yeah. She was in 2 of my movies.
Oh, wow.
2, maybe 3. Yeah.
She's great.
She's great. So I saw Missy Pyle a lot, and I'm trying to think of who else once Dharma stole my life. I don't think I saw a lot of famous people. I think it was a lot of
sure.
Yeah, there's
you didn't have like a rival, like door opens up and you go, oh no, she's here, she's gonna steal the part.
Not really. I don't think so. I think because at the time I didn't really know how to audition, and let me say that auditioning is a totally separate skill.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what did you learn? Because obviously this is on the job training. No one teaches you how to audition.
No.
So what did you learn as you went off to audition after audition after audition?
They do have classes. They have classes. Oh, yeah. You can take an audition class. There's some guys. There's amazing teachers in that. Bob Krakauer is a guy who's a great acting teacher. I took his on-camera audition class, and like I took it honestly probably like 3 or 4 years too late because I really, I was kind of like, what's going on? I don't really know how to do this. I think I was such a stage baby, I didn't understand the camera. I didn't understand how that worked. And the weird thing is, you're not going to believe this, but it is so much easier for me to get on stage and perform for 900 people than it is for me to audition for 2 people in a room.
I could not agree with you harder about that.
Right?
I feel the exact same way. I worked for it was Phoenix Comic Con at the time, but it became Phoenix Fan Fusion just because lawsuits. But I have stood in front of 3,000 geeks and talked to them, just like, telling the rules and what's going on and just having a chat, and could not have been calmer.
Yeah.
But put me in a room with like, to interview for a job, whatever, with like 2 people. It's like, and I think that I absolutely know what you're talking about. And maybe that's the weird performer disease. Maybe that's the...
Oh, I had it
I'm more
bad.
comfortable on stage than I am, taking a taxi. Yeah.
Well, and I was...
Uber.
I always did characters, so I was whenever I found a character that I could really like lock into and it wasn't me anymore, it was like just the character. I know that sounds crazy, but that's like the only way I could ever relax is if I had such a character to do that it was no longer like me doing it. But that's weird. I think that freaks people out.
I remember listening to Kevin Pollak's chat show. He talks something about this, and he says that when he goes into characters, even like famous like auditions, he says sometimes they're smarter than him. That like he'll end up saying stuff, and he's like, "Where did that come from? How did I know that?" He'll say like, "Yeah." Sometimes he just gets into this zone where it's like he's like really just sitting back, going, "Who's doing this? Am I still in control here?"
Oh, God, that's amazing. That's so exciting when that happens. I had that experience. I was doing a sketch comedy show, and I was doing this character that was bombing. I mean, it wasn't funny. It just wasn't funny, and I didn't know how to make her funny. And I was freaking out. It was a big industry show, and I went across the street, and I was like, okay, I don't know how to make this funny. Something has, like, I need help. I think I was literally like praying. I think I was like, I need help. I need help. Like, make this funny.
Oh,
comedy
divine
gods,
muses,
like,
please come to me.
Make this funny. And it came to me like before I went on stage. I got an inspiration. I got I got help from the comedy gods, and I was like, just do Irene Dunn. Just do an impression of Irene Dunn, and it'll work. And so, totally untried. The director didn't even know I was doing it. We did this character called the Gossip Lady, and she was all gossipy and telling stories about what went on behind the scenes. And I just did this character, and the material, as we had seen before, was not funny, but that character was. And I stretched it out, and I danced on those words, and the crowd went crazy. And that's how I got my real commercial agent, the one that I still have.
Oh, wow.
Because they came and saw that show.
Okay. So then you're auditioning. What was the first thing you booked? Not necessarily the biggest thing, but like, what's the first thing you remember, like, that you got to go back and you got the check?
I think it was probably, honestly,
a commercial.
Yeah, it was. It was it was like maybe it was a sprint. No, like oh my God. I don't even remember what the commercial was for. It was something like, I wanted to say Sprint or Sony, but I'm like, did they have Sprint back then? I don't even know.
Yeah, it was AT&T?
Yeah, it was like something that was brilliantly, it was a giant commercial.
Collect? I'm trying to think of what in that era, what would have been.
I had to be a waitress in a diner.
Okay.
And
whoa, hey, typecasting.
Yep, exactly. But it was a big enough commercial, like it was a national network commercial, and I got that. And then I got a Nokia commercial, which was so fun. I got to like travel all over the country and do man on the street kind of interviews with people and ask them about Nokia phones. And I loved it.
So what did you? So obviously you've done the pilot before, but when you first show up on set to a commercial,
yes.
What would you remember that? I mean, do you remember what it was like? Sort of like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I am, and just I'm having to act like you're like, no, I do this all the time.
No, you have no idea what you're doing, and they're all like, production is such a. You've been on sets, yeah?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
all I know is from behind the scenes things.
Okay, well, everybody has
I know it's a lot of go, 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 though. Everybody's just like,
yes.
You don't want to be the one that stops everything.
Right. There's a lot of waiting around, and yet every person is like, when it's time to do my job, you got to be ready to go.
Right.
But it was so bizarre because I didn't really know. I didn't know how to hit a mark. Like you have to stand where they tell you to stand. And if they tell you to walk and stop and say a line, you have to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to take direction, which was not something that I ever did because I was always on a stage. There was someone who would adjust a performance after the fact, but not like now repeat that right away, like stop and then come in and adjust you right there.
Yeah.
So it was, I'm sure it was crazy, scary,
Right.
But fun too, because you walk on a set and everybody calls you talent. They don't even call you by your name. It's like, you're
sure.
talent. And I'm like, I could get used to this.
Yeah. So, obviously a commercial shoot is just like a television or movie thing. Like you're getting makeup, you're getting costume, right?
Yep.
It's just
they dress you.
Yeah. It's just like but you do it in a day.
Yeah. It's way shorter and way more money than you'll ever make on a movie and smaller scale. Like it's just, there's less pressure, I think. And also
is it more money? Like I don't say, you don't have to get into specific dollar amounts and stuff too, but like for like a 1 day shoot, then you also get money every time the commercial airs, right?
Yes. So
it depends. Bigger up front and then,
it depends.
And then continue on or?
I don't remember.
I know it varies wildly. I'm just talking about what your experience has been.
Yeah, I think it's probably bigger up front. And then there's also, it depends on what kind of commercial it is. Like there's local, at the time,
national.
Yeah, local versus national. Now there's like, commercials that'll only live on the web and there's some that are only on Pandora. Right? There's all these different things for commercials now. So
yeah.
But so that's why, and they're priced accordingly like that. But this was a television commercial, which was, and it was on network.
Do you remember? Did they tell you when it's going to be on?
No.
Oh, I say, when was the first time you saw yourself that it was on? Because people these days don't. The youth of today don't understand the ubiquity of commercials and how we had them memorized and we would see them all the time and stuff. That it was actually as much as I don't want to be nostalgic for advertising. There was something about it that was a common thing that you and I right now could talk about our favorite ads.
Yeah.
Whereas our children have no idea what that is.
No. They know YouTube memes and things.
Yes, exactly.
That's what they'll remember, but not the commercials. It's true. Yeah.
So do you remember this first time you saw one of your commercials on television?
I don't know that I ever caught that one. I think the first one that I saw was a Tampax commercial I did.
Okay.
I was just the voiceover. I was not the on camera, but I heard my voice and that was really like, oh my God, it worked. Like they actually kept my voice in a box and they attached it to that commercial. And that was really cool. Like I think, and the Nokia one I saw a lot. That was very exciting because we did a bunch of spots. So that they were kind of on all the time. And it's thrilling. Obviously it's like, it's thrilling. It's like for a minute you actually are entertained by yourself.
You're like, I live with me all the time. I'm not that interesting. But then all of a sudden you go, oh, well, I see what they see.
Yeah, I had such nerves. I'm surprised, but I kept doing it because it was all I'd ever known, but I struggled. Like I I didn't get most of the jobs.
Sure.
I don't even know. I'm trying to remember if I even got called back, but I didn't get the feeling that it was going well. But also, I had come from everything goes well all the time the first time.
I was going to say, like, so far it's been a charmed life. Like, to get, not that you haven't been working hard, not that you weren't talented, but like I'm like, this is amazing how many dominoes have fallen for you. Because
I know
there's a 1,000 hard luck stories that could follow the same one and all of a sudden just veer off wildly on many, many exits.
I know. And I really wish that I felt more comfortable. What I should say is I kind of wish it hadn't gone that easily.
Oh, right.
So early on, because I think I do have a tendency to get into the like, this should be happening faster, or, I shouldn't have to work this hard. When in fact, like, I actually, I could work harder. That's, what I mean?
So this is the first time you would have had to face a massive amount of rejection.
Oh, just my God.
So how did you learn, to emotionally deal with hearing no? Or actually, what I found is, I was trying to steel myself going into this, I'm going to hear no, and it'll be like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to be, it's not the no that hurts. It's the silence that kills you. Oh. It's when they don't return the calls, don't return the email. That's the stuff that just stings.
Yeah, that is a special kind of hell. As far as I can remember, I think that my agents mostly protected me.
Okay.
Although I will say, back in Texas, when I was in high school, I auditioned to play the daughter of a Bette Midler movie.
Oh, wow.
And I think the casting director said something like she was unimpressive.
Ooh.
And I'm 16 years old.
Sure.
Like, is that necessary? How about green?
Right.
Or,
Yeah.
But unfortunately, my agents passed that along to me. And so I think I had a little bit of
we had a conference about you, and we'd like you to be more impressive next time you audition. If you can work on that.
I know. I'm oh my God.
And do you need us to pick you up? Because I know we can't have a driver's license yet. Is that?
Well, it's one of those. Yeah, exactly. It's really weird because I had things going on that people who actually went to school and got training did not have going on. Mm-hmm. But then it got real brutal because I didn't have training, and people who had training then were able to actually sustain it. I think you can fall back on your training. I think if you have that, if you have skills like that and you've really mastered those skills and you continue to master those skills, it feels less personal. It feels less chaotic, right? It doesn't feel like, I just hope I randomly get lucky and someone finds me impressive. Like, you have a skill that you're going into the room, you're doing your thing, and it's either going to work or it's not, but at least you did what you could do. And because like I said, it was all intuition and timing and luck. I got so lucky so many times that when I stopped getting lucky, I didn't know how to make luck.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know how to hone those skills. So it took me a while. It took me a bit of time.
So you've been now on the other side of the table. You have auditioned people. So now, director Mandy, what would you go back and tell actor Mandy about going into all of those auditions?
I would say that listen, you're a singular expression of a human being. That's it. Get into the given circumstances, relax, and know that you can't fuck it up because, pardon, I said the F-bomb.
That's fine.
You can't mess it up because you have to get out of the way. All that ego and stuff has to get out of the way. It doesn't matter. Whether you're good or bad, that's not even a thing. The only thing is whether you were available to that character and that moment. Did you honor that character? Did you say the words the way that the writer intended? It's a job. And now I understand those skills because I so appreciate it when actors bring it,
Yeah.
And you can tell when an actor's all caught up in whether or not they're good or how they look, or they get really self-conscious and they're not relaxed. And it's such a beautiful thing when you see somebody come in and just drop in and let the character do all of the work. I mean, it's kind of mystical. I mean, it's channeling in a way, you know? And sometimes people are just, they also have the other set of skills, which is like, I learn my lines, I understand rhythm, I know how to be still, you know, I know how to listen, because half of acting really is reacting, right? It's amazing to me how interesting people are when they're doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like just listening and thinking, and how all of a sudden it sparks a performance alive. And there were times when I had that experience in the room as an actor. And I honestly, when I was having that experience, I could have cared less whether I got the part. Because for that moment, I was like doing the part, and you could feel it. It was like a wave where you're like, oh, this is happening now. Like you're listening to the reader. You guys have a magic, something's going on, and like you're just in it. And that's really, really fun when that happens. Both times it happened to me. I'm kidding.
I remember,
there were 3.
Watching I think it was a YouTube video about Gene Wilder, and they were talking about how Gene Wilder, they said he's one of the best out there, but one of his best skills was reacting.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was an active listener. So like a lot of times it was just something funny would happen, and he would just take the beat.
Yeah.
Instead of immediately, what? You know, it's just like, okay. He would just have that thing. And they said that's so rare that someone can get a laugh from not doing something.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, it's a huge part of it. And it's the toughest thing in the world to do if you're nervous. Like that's a thing that I realize now. I go, oh, well, I was all ratcheted up with nerves. And you really can't do it if you're nervous, because you need to be able to be alive. Like you need to listen and have normal human responses to things and not be frozen up. And that's, you know, you can really tell when and that's a tough thing, because you have to be so prepared. Like I want actors to be so prepared, and yet I want it to feel like they have not prepared. So you have to memorize the lines. You have to have an idea of how to play the jokes, right? You have to have thought about it, made a choice. But then once you've made your choice, you also have to step in and make it feel like it's happening in that moment.
Yeah.
And you can tell, like, so it's not predictable or stiff. It's tough.
And I've only auditioned people for stuff that I've written and for plays. So I've only done it a couple times. But I can tell you, if this is any consolation to the actors out there, I have had people come in where I was like, you are not the right person for this part, but okay. And had them do so well, commit to it so well that I was like, and I've just rewritten the part.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I have had multiple times where I've had someone come in and I'm like, okay, that man is now a woman, that woman is now a man, like whatever it is, like, you know, that adult is now a child, you know, I'm like, you are that amazing that I will change my script for you because, wow, I want other people to see what I just saw.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think actors have a lot of power in that room, much more they think of, God, I hope I get it. Like you, if you come in, and also I think you'll probably agree with me on this. I have also earmarked people. Like when they come in, I'm like, oh, you're not right for this, but I'm going to remember you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You fall in love with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah. And actually there's people that they change your mind because I mean, there was a guy in my movie that I really didn't know if he could even do the part, to be honest. Like, but we had a table read and I was like, wow, look at that. He totally changed my mind about this character, and it ended up being better for the character.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, so that's always really fun. I mean, when somebody someone is just doing something that's so interesting, you either want to write for them. I have written for people, which is cool.
Me too. When you find an actor that is just has something different about them, you're like, I don't know what, but like I need people to see what I just saw. I'm going to give you something, and I know I can give you ingredients, and you're going to deliver a meal. Yes.
Yeah. There's people that I've worked with repeatedly, and it kills me whenever I have something that I'm like, oh, they're not really right for this.
Yeah.
But that's too bad because I love working with them,
That's part of it too. I mean, it's. I think I'm trying to remember what the trifecta was, because somebody who does casting was explaining this to me. They said you can be professional, you can do your homework, and you can be nice. If you're any two of those things, you will have a long and prosperous career. If you get all three, you're going to be a star. But it's like but it's that thing of getting all three of those is so rare, because you get people who can be total divas, but when you see them on screen, they go, wow, they really deliver. And so you'll sort of let them be awful because you know you're going to get something great. You get people like, oh yeah, they're okay, but they're the nicest person in the world, and they show up on time, and they have their stuff memorized, they're ready to go, and they're a joy to be around. It's like, you know what? I'm going to put you in everything because I just like having you with me.
I had never heard that.
Yeah.
It's like that.
A local theater company, I was complaining about an actor, like, oh, this guy drives me crazy, and they're like, oh yeah, he doesn't do his homework, and I'm like, what does that mean? They're like, oh yeah, he's one of those people who thinks he's so talented he can just show up and cold read and have it down. Doesn't do his homework. They're like, we hate those people. Like, we earmark them like, oh man, unless you like, if you think you're just gonna wing it, nope, sorry, not this level.
I think people are just afraid of it. I think it's a clear self-sabotagey thing where, like, I don't want to do a bad job. So if I don't try, then that's the reason I did a bad job. I do think that's...
I absolutely would agree with that. There's a certain amount of fear of success.
Yeah, a fear of failure too.
Oh, that's true. That's the other side of that too.
Right. I that's why I think that toolbox, like the people that I know that like went to grad school for acting. Yeah. They talk about it and I'm like, oh, okay. All that stuff that I was like, but is that going to make me a star? Like I didn't, I even did some of it, but I did it for like 6 weeks at a time, where like these programs, they did Feldenkrais and all these, movement and how to act like an animal. And
now I'm a tree. I'm swaying in the wind.
Yeah. There's some really fascinating stuff out there that can seem pretty silly unless you're trying to be a professional actor. And it turns out that stuff actually works. It actually builds a toolbox that people can use, And especially when they're working with different directors.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I would say you obviously working your way up. So let's go back to the timeline then before we jump too far ahead. Yeah. So what was the first fiction? I guess fictional, like what you get, like television, movie, like what was the first major, not even major, but like the first thing you actually got to be a performer, even if it was like, woman number 3.
Well, as a matter of fact, I believe I was co-ed number 2.
Okay. Everybody's got to pay their dues.
Mm-hmm. In Private Parts.
Okay. Oh, the Howard Stern movie.
Yes. I was in a scene with Howard Stern.
Okay.
And
did
Betty
you have
Thomas.
A line?
I did.
Did you get your SAG card from that?
I got my SAG card from the commercial.
Oh, from the commercial. Okay. I didn't know if that counted.
Yeah. Nope. Okay. The commercial was SAG, so I got my SAG card from that. Oh, which, by the way, how great to have actors unions, because oh my God, I never would have known how to make a living from this.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Actors Union Writers Guild. Yeah,
it's amazing.
I think they could do more, but I'm happy that they're out there and they're actually somebody's standing up for the artists.
Oh yeah, and clueless people like me, like I said, if somebody was like, "Do you want to do this for $1?" I would have been like, "Yeah."
Yeah, I just want exposure.
Yeah, and so the fact that the unions are like, actually, you're going to pay this, and we're going to get you health insurance too, like that kind of thing. It was kind of goofy. Like, it was a big movie. Betty Thomas was the director. I loved her.
Did you get directed by Betty Thomas?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, for being far down the call sheet, it might have just been like an AD comes up and says, "Could you just try it a little faster?"
Oh, no. That was the scene. Like, it took like all of 5 minutes, but that was the scene where he came up and asked me out, and I said, no.
Oh, okay. So this is during college? Like,
yeah.
So like he was in college and you were in college Yep. Okay. And did it make the final cut?
Not only did it make the final cut, it made the trailer.
Hey!
So there was this crazy thing where they were showing the trailer for Private Parts on CNN, and it was playing all the time, and all these people were like, "Oh my God, dude, you're in the Howard Stern movie." Like, don't waste money on a ticket. You just saw me.
That was it. You stole my whole part.
That's all I'm going to do. No, yeah. Yeah. It was very, very funny. But even when you play a tiny little part, they invite you to the premiere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you get to go to a red carpet thing and they give you free popcorn and soda. And then they stand up there and they thank the entire cast and crew. And you're like, that was me.
Hey, I was one of those people.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So do you still get residuals?
I don't think I've gotten residuals in a few years, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I have in the last 5 years. I mean, it's been a while, but I got residuals for a long time.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I've seen actors posting their 1 cent check.
Yeah, yeah, you get a lot of that, but it still feels good. You know what I mean?
Well,
it's that weird thing. You forget that you've done jobs, and then you get a residual, and you're like, "Hey,
oh, I remember that.
Good for me." Yeah, so that was my first big one, and that's where, I think after that is when I decided to come to LA. I came to LA for a bit.
Okay.
For a minute. I came to LA for a minute. Yeah. But it was, and I auditioned. It was more of the same, really. And then I went back to New York.
So you never got pulled into the soaps? I know the soaps is a big thing in New York.
Oh, yeah, it is a big thing. But I was not a classic beauty like the soaps really were looking for.
Okay.
I really was so hardcore. And this is what I think is interesting for any artist. And I wish we could all hold this. I wish, because it's such an ambitious business and we all have these big goals, right?
Sure.
I wish that I could hold this more often. But your path really unfolds in its own unique way. And you kind of need to love it and offer your best to it instead of constantly craning your neck to look at somebody else's path, right? Because I didn't get on soaps, but I probably would have hated to be on soaps, to be honest. There's or maybe I would have loved it and maybe I would have ended up directing soaps. I don't know. But I was so into comedy and I loved it so much. And now, so I was really focused on that. I was doing a lot of stage. I was doing experimental theater. I was doing super offbeat, crazy, not paying me a dime stuff. And that was just sort of where I ended up. But it shaped a very offbeat sensibility. You know?
Were you trying to develop anything of your own at this time, or were you just trying to book gigs?
I was trying to, I wasn't really set up for this. I didn't have a literary agent or manager. I wasn't it was sort of I didn't have any representation in that department. Or if I got representation, then I didn't understand really what was expected of me. Again, it was that thing of I'm going to do it all on my own. I'm just going to read the artist's way and do whatever comes up. And instead of or go take a class or get a mentor or, you know what I mean? So it wasn't until later that I figured out how to write. I literally had half of a script and I was like, is that enough to send to people? And a writer friend of mine was like, no.
No, it's got to be done.
You can't send half a script to somebody.
Anybody can write half a script.
Right. You're not a writer if you haven't finished it. Are you a moron? But I came from sketch comedy and everything had been easy. I'm like, maybe that'll be enough. So it's interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
So before she, I assume, exits the story, your roommate, did she ever make it as a dancer?
She did a lot of dance in New York City. I came to see her in a couple shows. Making it as a dancer is kind of tough. She's now a public health social worker.
Okay.
She works for the city of New York in the public health department, which was really interesting during COVID. I'll tell you that.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she still loves dance, and she did it actively and religiously. We were doing that thing together.
Yeah. I always think of dancers kind of like the NFL. You have a season. and either an injury is going to take you out, or basically like, yeah, okay, this is like, by the time you're 40,
I think there is
it
that.
might be time to move into something else.
And it's, I don't know. It's a culture where
because there's another wave coming up.
Yeah. There's 2 or 3 big companies. It's more like, in a weird way, if you move to a smaller town, if you're not living in New York or LA, you actually get to do a lot of really cool theater and dance and cool things because they have those things in smaller places, but there's not 900,000 people trying to get those jobs.
Right.
All compete.
You could be a much bigger fish if you go to a smaller pond.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you, if that's what you really want to do, I guess it just depends. It's like people get lucky. Like, there's one of the actors in the film I did. Like I think he was roommates with Josh Gad.
Oh wow!
And yeah, and he has a couple other bonkers. Oh, Katie Mixon, I think, was another roommate or like another college buddy of his. So there's like 4 or 5 of them that just all like, became giant in the entertainment industry. Yeah. And they just happen to know each other. So that's like a wad of fresh, amazing talent right there with those 4 people. But like, but they're everywhere. Like I've seen stuff in smaller towns that I'm like, wow, that is so creative and original and interesting. Well, I mean, there's really incredible stuff that a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't really need to get famous or get paid. I kind of have my other stuff going on, but this is my art.
Yeah, I've lived in a couple different places across the country, and not all of them are artsy towns, but there are artsy towns out there. So like, people think of New York and LA, but like Chicago has an amazing art scene. Atlanta has an amazing art scene. Minneapolis has an amazing art scene, which you wouldn't expect. But
incredible.
It's really, really vibrant. So there's these places dotted across the country that are doing really, really cool stuff that you really couldn't do anywhere else.
Yeah.
I was thinking like you're talking about the professional dancer moving to a smaller area. I'm like, we are halfway to a romantic comedy right now. Like, that's the start of a premise that we could pitch to Lifetime. But I was like, I think that's Bunheads. I think that's Sutton Foster's show.
Oh, that's funny.
I think that I'm like, oh yeah, they kind of already got there, but there's still something there. So. Copyright this podcast.
I've always wanted
our
to do.
Idea. You can't have it.
Okay, you got it. Yes, I've always wanted to do a show.
I meant the listener. Like, listen, listener.
Oh,
don't go off and write that. We're claiming credit for it right now.
We are planning to rip off Bunheads. Don't you do it? We're gonna do it.
That's right. It was on ABC Family. Nobody watched that.
I've always wanted to do a story on the amusement park performers.
Oh, okay.
Because
like the who perform like the singing dancing shows at
in the big air conditioned theater, and they do shows at like 12, 2, 4, and 6.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, those people work their
hard.
asses off.
Yeah.
And there's some really talented folks in there. I'm like, wow. And what I just think they're in like Pittsburgh or Hershey Park.
But they're doing they're singing their guts out.
Yeah. Dancing. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah.
I say every time I go to any one of those things, I always go to see those shows.
Me too.
Those are some of the highlights of those things for me. It's like, oh no, go ahead on the roller coaster. I'm gonna watch, Broadway Review 1987, whatever it is.
I love it so much, and all I do is imagine their lives. Like I just want to know, like, where do you live, and how did you get this job, and how long have you been doing it, and what do you love about it, what do you hate about it, what's it like backstage, and is there a waiting for Guffman thing? Like, are you just like waiting for like a producer's gonna just sit in the audience and go, that kid's a star. Yeah. Well, isn't it? Everybody thinks this way. When I was doing my little announcements in the theater, I wasn't like, I think I'm going to star in a couple of plays in the local community theater. Like, that was not, I was like, I'm going to be Meryl Streep and I'm going to win an Oscar. Everybody has that, right? When they're thinking about this stuff. At least I think. I don't know. Is there kind of that like, and then I'm going to write a movie and I'm going to write the new Star Wars.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's like, my stuff is just as good as what gets on there. I could write a movie better than Transformers 4.
We all think that.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
So then what drew you to Los Angeles? What was the first thing that sort of brought you out? Was it just ambition, or was there actually like a thing?
Well, when I went to Los Angeles, it was because of pilot season, because I was auditioning. Sure. I was going to come out and try to do pilot season out here. And I really fell in love with it. I got a job, not acting, but kind of acting. I got a job playing dressing up as characters for children's birthday parties.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And doing balloon animals and magic shows and things like that. So it was my paying gig.
Okay.
And then I auditioned and met casting directors. And I went back to New York, and I was totally going to move to LA. Like, that was the plan.
Sure.
I had friends from college. I loved driving. It was like, I was like, this is magical. I loved it. And
So before we go further, I'm just curious. So now you've dealt with New York casting agents.
Yeah.
And now you're doing with LA casting agents. So there's the classic New York, LA. What did you find was the difference between the styles of the two?
Well, that's very interesting. I don't know that there's New York has a tendency to be a little more gruff.
Okay.
Like more direct. And they, and business-like, I guess, like let's go.
Yeah.
But they were lovely, actually. There was a couple casting directors that were so sweet, and every time I went in there, God love them, they really did everything they could to put me in the right position to get the job. So they were great. But LA, I don't know. LA was crazy intimidating, because when you go into an office in New York, you're just going into a high rise,
sure.
And then maybe you see show posters on the wall. But when you go in LA, you're going to Paramount.
Yeah.
You're going
onto the lot.
Yeah, you go to Warner Brothers, and
wow.
So that is really like, whoa. So
what is the someone coming from the outside, what is the energy of pilot season like? Like, is there real like hustle bustle feeling, or
yes.
is it just like, oh, really?
Oh, yeah. No. Well, and it's changed, of course, because television has changed so much, right?
Pilot season is all year round now.
Yeah. They still kind of, just to keep their sanity, sort of like pack it into, they try to at least have a pilot season. But yeah, it's mostly, shows are kind of going all the time. There's no like, we have to fit in our schedule because network programming is all different, So it is crazy. I mean, it's like everybody's working really hard, and like I have so many stories. I friends of mine who got parts and then like heard through their agents that they were going to get replaced after the table read, so they had to like call the director and try to pitch to like re-audition or get it's crazy. People get like offered stuff in the room depending on like how much time there is left before they have to cast something. It's really it's like a buck and bronco pilot season, because people have a schedule and deadlines, and they're all fighting to try to catch magic in a bottle, and that's really hard to do. Like, some of the most talented people I know, they write pilots and they're great pilots and they get a great cast and everybody's happy, and then the pilot ends up and it's not good. And it doesn't, or it's fantastic and everybody loves it and it still doesn't get picked up.
Yeah. Do you know about Dead Pilot Society?
No, wait. I think I've heard about this.
There is actually it's a great podcast that they put out where they allow people who have a dead pilot, basically a pilot that went all the way through reading and just never got made, but never got the reading. So like they then get a bunch of actors together. I think actually Misty Pyle was on one of these episodes.
I'm sure that sounds great.
In the days when we could gather together, they gather them together and do a live script read of the pilot. So the writers actually get a chance to hear this dead pilot read out for the first time. And there's some amazing pilots that I was like, why is that not a television show? That once you even hear it, and I still think about to this day, like, man, I wonder whatever happened to those characters, because it was so good just from the start. So it's nice that some of those things that people worked really, really hard on actually get a chance to have an audience go, yes, you did a good job.
Oh, I love that. Is it still on? I gotta check that out. It's on.
Yeah, no, they're still doing it. And they did it. They were doing it over Zoom, during quarantine, which was nice, but
Yeah.
Not quite the same because it's just, a fancy Zoom meeting. But hopefully now that people are able to gather together, they'll be able to, book the Largo or whatever, and have another reading.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
Yeah, that's good. So when you're done listening to this podcast, hop over to that one and do it, because there's a bunch of them that are really, really good. And you're going to be amazed by the amount of really talented people they get to be on it, like to do a nothing part that'll never go anywhere, but they get like a major, John Hodgman had
my God, I love him.
He wrote a pilot for a television show that he was going to be the star of, playing himself as a 13-year-old boy.
Oh, I have to check this out.
So good.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's really, I remember reading the pilot of Modern Family.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And being like, oh, wow, like, how are they going to cast this? And also I thought it was incredible. It was like the big buzz around town. Everybody's like, it's a really good pilot. Because, in a weird way, there's a lot of not so great pilots that also get made, depending on what your taste is. It's all subjective. And also, like some of them are great from the page, and some of them like only come alive when they're read. And then some shows only get good in the second season. Yeah. Yep, exactly. But they're at least given time to do that, which is
exactly.
Nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With Hollywood on the horizon, that's where we're going to hit pause. Next time, we'll be talking about the nitty-gritty of pilot season, dealing with agents and managers, and Mandy's association with the former queen of daytime television. If you'd like to hear more of Mandy Fabian, you can listen to her show, The Man Cave, where she and her close friend Mandy Kaplan force each other to watch shows and movies they might never see, then have a wonderful time arguing with each other about them. Available wherever fine podcasts are found. Thanks so much for listening. This has been the next chapter in the Curiosity Codex, but there are still many pages left to decipher. We're part of the True Story FM family of podcasts. Find out more about us at truestory.fm. Our theme music is Intrusion by Severed Personality, aka Kevin MacLeod. The voice of the Codex is Vicky Hall. Find her on the web at vickyhall.squarespace.com. And my name is Kyle Olson.
The Codex is closed. For now.